Good evening. It's a minute or so after 7. Welcome to the June meeting of the Camera Club of Richmond. I'm Martin Evans, and we're recording, are we? We're in good shape? Okay. I don't just tell you. As many of you know, Venkat and I often go on photographic trips together. And our last trip was one of birding, and the Florida birding examples that I have are interesting to say the least. We went looking for some burrowing owls, which I didn't bring photos of, but in the photographic ones that I shot, before we could find the burrowing owls, we took pictures of a chicken. Because we couldn't find the owls, I thought, I'm not bringing this back and showing this to anyone. But we did there are a lot of pictures, but I don't have enough hands. Let's see if this will. So we went looking for the spoonbills and went all over the place, and spoonbills are wonderful and they're wonderful to take pictures of, but sometimes you get a picture of not so much birds. Strange. Anyway, the iguanas are crazy in this area too. On next month, we're going to have another session, especially for the newer members, at 6 to 6:45 in the lobby, and I'll donate some time and we'll see if we can answer a few of the questions for the newer member. I'm not the best resource of everything, but I can help you in some of the things that I do have knowledge of. And so for new members, come and we'll talk about competition and images and other things that you may want to hear about. That's on the 6 o'clock right before the next meeting next month. Rob Sabatini was here last time. His critique and so forth, I think, is posted online, is it not? Posted yet? I think it is.
Yes, it's out there on YouTube.
Great. Our leadership team, you should know by now, but if you don't, here they are, and we'll have some input from each of them this evening. Welcome to new members, Gretchen, Rob, Nicola, and we have guests. Sarah Saturno and Rick Anderson are guests this evening. We hope you'll find the meeting engaging enough that you'll join the group. It's a fun group, and there are a lot of excellent photographers here that are happy to share their secrets with you. Next. Jane's information is here. July 14th evaluation with Mary Fitz Taylor, open invitation there. September 8th with Kevin Morley, assigned subject, multiple exposures, and so forth. Any questions for Jane? I think Doug is here, and he's everything in order in your world. Okay, everybody's paid their membership fee, and that's wonderful. Kemp, any comment for your coming next month? Right. And just remember, there is a
no
deadline.
assigned subject next month.
There is a deadline, and it's on Saturday night before the meeting on the coming Tuesday. Michael, in-person evaluations available for the next two. And we've got the digital box here tonight too. Pat, any comment or emphasis on this? Okay.
Information on the what again, Pat? On the Richmond. Okay. Richmond show's coming out. Look it up for an email from Pat.
Michael, Richmond Pro Lab Tour, July 21st, 10 a.m., 30 members. Have you had, you haven't sent out an announcement yet, or have you? Last time it was very informative. People learned a lot, and it was a sophisticated group and a sophisticated presentation. Karen is online and somewhere.
I'm in Massachusetts.
She's traveling.
I'm traveling. But just wanted to point out that we're looking to spotlight Richmond, thanks to Michael Bryant for the suggestion. So give us a picture of Richmond on our Facebook group and tell us a little story, and we'll put that in our next Southern Exposure or one of the next months coming up. So share your Richmond photos on our Facebook group.
Great. Thank you, Karen. And Paul looks so serious in this picture.
I do. I'm a serious
guy.
So
Any comment?
Nope. Just still looking for help. I got Michael here. He's gone through. Make sure I'm up mute. Yeah, he's gone through the training and he passed. So you can see he's in the chair right now.
It's a graduate.
It is. Yeah, it is. But we could use more help because we don't want to put it all on Michael. So, and I'll be out next month. So it's going to be a good test for him and anybody else who needs to set up, and help is like setting up these blinds behind me. I know Zoom folks can't see it, but because we want to block out the light, that takes help. Setting up basic equipment, that takes help. Tearing it down, that takes help. If there's a problem and Martin needs a hand a microphone, that needs help. So any of those kind of things, none of that requires any kind of technical expertise. But those are all things that are needed to help the in-person process work and not be a distraction to those on Zoom. So any help would be great.
This is an important thing for the group. If you're ordering something online from B&H or Adorama, and if you use our link, not just for camera equipment, but for anything from those places, computers, hard drives, whatever, we get a 2% commission, which will add up and help the group tremendously. It doesn't change the price of your item at all. And the only thing is you have to do that. You can't go to the bottom line and get ready to pay and then expect the group to get our 2% commission. You have to do it pretty much as you start out and acknowledge that in the beginning. Yep. Yes. So it makes a difference and for the group, and it counts here. And this will be on the video link and you can use the QR code and it will help us tremendously. Education and activities. Any comment, Joe? Roller derby and tall ships, and that should be a pretty neat thing to see. Jerry, I saw earlier. Thank you. You too. Tonight's image evaluation with Anthony Rumley. We're honored to have him. He has been a regular for us and has been tremendous help. His bio is somewhere here that I don't see. And if you don't know who he is, he's here. There it was. Did you read that? There we go. And those of you who know Anthony, he is a technical expert. He is president of the West Virginia PPA, I think it is, and a tremendous reviewer. We're honored to have him, and somewhere he is. Welcome.
All right. You definitely don't want to say I'm glad to be here again. Thanks for you guys for having me back for another 30 years or however long it's been since I've actually started doing this. I've told a few people this before, but years ago, I remember there was used to meet in the bottom of a bank downtown. And when I first walked in, I think the median age of the 10 people that were there was about 106. So to see the group like where it is now and what you guys are involved in is for me just night and day, having seen that transition in this group. And I was reading the Southern Exposure, and man, that's fantastic. I mean, to have a camera club and to have that caliber of content, you guys are really doing a fantastic job. And how are your multimedia guys making his voice repeat when he talks? That's cool. Don't do that with me. We'll be here for a while. We have celebrities on the front row. It's good seeing you guys at VPPA and doing well. So I'm glad you guys are here. So I've been involved with Virginia PPA, as most you know, for many years. I'm now president of the Professional Photographers of West Virginia. So I'll give a little pitch for them. So they have a Facebook page. It's Friends of PPWV. And we're always looking for people to come up and do presentations for us. And you don't have to have done a presentation before. Heck, we even took Fred Morton up to do a couple of presentations for us. So we're desperate for people sometimes to fill in spots. So if you guys would like to come up and do a presentation on, thanks for coming, Fred, appreciate you. Anyway, so if you want to bring any of those beautiful photos of chickens or whatever those were on the screen, and come up and do a presentation, we'd love to have you up there. Check out our page, and we do have 2 major events we do every year. So feel free to check those out and make the trip up there, because man, it is beautiful scenery. Those that like to photograph outdoors, that is the place to go. So before we get started here, anybody not heard me do critiques before in the room? I'm sorry, you guys are in for a treat. And you're on the front row. So as most of you know, I'm pretty straightforward. I base this off of our background of how we judge competitions professionally. I realize this isn't a professional arena, but I'm giving you that courtesy of what we look for. And sometimes I'll be hard on you, I'll pick on you, but the ultimate goal is to make you a better photographer. And that's how I got to where I am. So you have to have a little bit of thick skin sometimes. If you ever have a question, though, you don't want to ask in this forum, feel free to reach out, send me an email, give me a phone call, and I'm more than happy. Anybody in here that's heard me for any period of time, no, I will definitely help you out if you need it. So if I am critiquing something and I'm hard on you, I generally will tell you how to make it better. Again, it's just my opinion, and everybody has one, right? So you'll have another judge sitting beside me. We'll have a 180-degree opinion from that. So this is just my take. So don't take it that personally if it doesn't go over well. That's just the nature of the game and nature of putting it in. So whoever put in images tonight, thank you for allowing me to come in and do that. I won't take any more time. If you guys have questions for me, feel free to let me know.
For those of you who have not done this before, the general format is the image comes up, the title comes up, the critique is then done, and then afterwards we say whose image it is. So it's blinded from Anthony's perspective. He doesn't know whose image it is until the end.
Yeah, I have no idea. And they always ask me if I want to see the images ahead of tonight. So I'm not sure if that's what other evaluators do or whatever. My answer for that is no, and it will always be no. I want to see it here first, so you have my first real impression of what that image is. Because when we're doing judging, that's exactly what it's like. It's going to spin around. I'm going to see it, and I'm going to give you my impression off the top for that. I don't ever want to see them ahead of time to have a preconceived notion of what I might say. So that's why you get sometimes interesting comments. Anyway, are you guys ready? And are we doing prints or these first? All right. Do I need to stay up here for you guys and your stuff?
No.
All right, we're good.
And the title is Boardwalk Number 7.
I enjoy this image. It's a good, nice arrangement of this. You don't have a lot of clutter that's happening, so you definitely chose a right location for this particular image. So this is great. This is great classical composition. The only I may give is it does divide the photo a little bit. Sort of not have that sort of right in the center ending, and either by cropping a little from the top or the bottom to make it a little more interesting, perhaps even a square print, I'd maybe consider.
Michael Bryant.
Prints.
These are the assigned subjects, which is shadows. And the title is A Shadow's Silent Salute.
All right. Really enjoy this just right off the bat. Has, impact with the nice sunset you have coming through, the silhouette, the flags at half mast. I mean, everything about this for a military guy like myself. Man, I really enjoy this image. Again, kind of personal preference here. This is really, see if the cat toy batteries are still working in this. We'll see. Maybe not. There we go. All right. So the main area is this right here, where we have this nice color. And then over here, we don't have any because the sun's not coming out on the side. And also this down here, personally, I would make that a little bit darker to keep my eye up in this upper area. But this is really well done, but your story is right here, and I don't need necessarily that area in here. The other thing to be careful of is anything with architecture. If you have your architecture nuts in the group, the skew of that image ideally would be adjusted as well.
And that was Sorrow. The next one is Across the Bridge.
I've been across this bridge many a time. So overall, it's kind of a very mid-tone kind of image across this. I don't really see anything that's like really bright and really dark in this. It's kind of in that middle area. I would like to see the tones of this stretched out. Mind you guys, Wade, just yell a little bit more. So this could benefit from different time of day. Sometimes maybe early in the morning or late in the evening might help you on sort of that little bit of a lighting situation that's going on there. And then also it's really kind of wonky because if you're going across that, man, if you're walking around a bike, I get the feeling I don't want to just like go off that side. And I know that does have a lot of humps in it, but I would level that out a little bit because this just makes me feel like the whole thing is going that way.
Harold Lana. Assembled.
What's the title?
Assembled.
Assembled. Okay. Nice. This is creative. So it's something they take a very simple object, something we would walk past and not think twice about, and they have this nice arrangement and these nice shadows coming across from that, which obviously leads into our assignment. So this is kind of interesting because you can kind of start weaving your own story. Is that, have these folks been sitting here? Was this kids that were sitting here? Did they already have a conversation and now they're gone? Or these chairs just sort of waiting for somebody to show up and occupy them? So you can actually start weaving a story in your mind of what is the deal with these chairs that are here. And then you have these nice rows of trees once you get up to those that kind of take you up and out of it. So this is a really interesting image. I enjoy this. Well done.
Jay Denny. Beach fence.
Beach.
Beach.
All right. Yeah. Nice. Again, nice lines that you have across here sort of leading into this. It's almost like an animal pattern, going back across. This is really nice. I don't know that it's really aiding in the photo to have these super bright areas included at the top right and the bottom right in this. I could come in a little bit on those, but for the assignment, fantastic.
Carol Hageman. Coastal stand in.
All right. Again, taking, interesting perspective here, right? So you've got this crazy wide angle, and the way that line is going through the head even makes it even more wacky, the pose, everything about this. So this is really clever to come up with this kind of angle. Even like the color choices are, kind of whack in this, which only makes it more interesting to me. It's definitely something you don't typically see, but the placement of having those feet like on a third, then the heads up like on another third, the composition of this is great. So I really enjoy this. Well done.
Susan Van Manen. Crosswalk.
All right. So this is one of those, again, classical kind of photos, right? Sort of capturing this, but you've done a really good job at doing that. Mid-step, see a little tiny bit of motion maybe in there, which is like totally fine. Enjoy this nice arrangement of black and white. And I don't even mind this because you have all this light area and he's going into that dark and it's just very defined. Probably would ease up a little bit from the bottom on this so you don't have such a large, brighter area sort of coming across the bottom. But nice.
Gene Boyd. Eclipse.
Nice. So again, taking an ordinary object and making it interesting, that's a gift. That's really hard to do. So here, honey, take this and go outside and see what you can do. And they did a great job with it. So nice arrangement, nice positioning. Being, if you want maybe some input for this, maybe just flip that image. Because I'm kind of starting up here and going down. Typically, we've talked about this a lot previously. We kind of like to go into things left or right in this part of the world. So if you sort of flip that, so I'm sort of coming up in that dark area and up to it and out would feel a little more comfortable to me visually. Just flip that, see what it looks like to you, and then, go at it. See what you like better.
Kerry Gottlieb. Fire escape.
Well, that's an interesting use of being in focus and out. So you're dividing this image up that way, either by the way you shot it or in post-production. If you're using a tilt shift or whatever you're doing to accomplish it, or lens baby or whatever you're using. It's such an extreme between what's in sharp and what's not. To me, I don't initially grasp why you would have it done to that degree. I don't think it necessarily adds to the image to have it done with that amount of technique to it. But this is interesting. I like this and like it. I would also move around and look at that as a straight on kind of image as well, because you're getting a little bit of that angle to it that I don't know, again, would help it as much. The only part, it is going to change your shadows. So unless you're standing there and you're looking at it, you really don't know. That's just some input for what it's worth. But I think the technique is a little strong for me personally, and I don't think necessarily adds to it.
Michael Orr. Follow the light.
Yeah, this is really nice composition here. And the leading lines of all that going back to that spot where the light is, just sort of wherever you are, doesn't look like a place you want to stay long. I I hope you grabbed this and like bolted back wherever you came from. The composition, the elongation of the image, everything about this is really well done.
And Fulcher,
Nice job, Ann.
gold and teal.
Nice. Look at that little drop there. So, you know, these are a challenge, but nice presentation that you have here. The stroke line around this. Sometimes you can get a little too carried away with either the color or the width of that. But for this particular image and what you're doing, and again, the assignment of this, this is well done. Nice silhouette.
Cindy Walker, great blue heron.
So I'd like to see this maybe kind of crazy, different time of day. It's so bright up there at the top on his bald head, wanted to be talking, but in that brighter area that's up there. And then you come down and you've got this distracting kind of grasses. I personally would like to see that a little cleaner. So if you're a photojournalist, I get it, leave it alone. But if you're gonna put this in and you want it to be nice and clean, I would clean up those things down there so you have like just the image and the reverse of it to focus on. And then I think this would also benefit from a presentation and not just necessarily a full bleed image.
Kemp Davis, hard life.
I believe it. I believe it. Again, great storytelling in this. Man, look at the hands of that guy, right? So, I mean, you go to that and you see that face, and then you start looking at the carvings of all this. You see the guys wearing an apron. You start weaving that story. What does this guy do? Is he a craftsman? Or, what kind of life has this guy had? So this is great, great photography here. That look and those eyes and just the weatheredness in this. This is one of the things that PPA used to have as a tagline was the world's great storytellers. This image would fit like perfectly in with that tagline.
Evstasios Spinos, industrial geometry.
All right, so my initial take on this is just with the variance of the shadows coming through that, it doesn't move me quite as much. It's just such a random pattern, and you've got all the stuff that's on the ground. I think, again, this might be one of those different time of day where the lighting is a little different or a little softer, may have made this a little bit better. Overall, it's just kind of harsh. And then you've got, as I start looking for things that don't quite fit for me as a judge, then I start looking at other things in the image. So then I travel back to the back and then I see this thing sticking up and I'm like, oh man, well, it's a shame that that's there and you couldn't have moved your angle a little bit to sort of maybe get rid of that. So this is okay, but I would probably work a little bit, different time of day and slightly different angles to make this a little cleaner of a shot.
Linda Schmiel, it's time to rest.
Okay. Okay. Harsh light is really tough on really fair skin, right? So you're losing detail on that side of the face, or at least what I'm seeing here. And I do have to give the benefit that it could be in the original file better than what I'm seeing on this system that's here. But I'm just, so as a warning, be careful of that sort of thing. Nice having this way elongated shadow here from that late day sun, is what I'm assuming. The story is like right in here, but this still is such an interesting kind of arrangement here. Normally I would say like take some of that out, but in this case, I think it actually kind of adds to it. The only thing is her placement of her is getting so close to being center. It's not quite as dynamic as if you could try to move that composition a little bit to try to get her to one of your thirds. It'd be a little bit stronger of an image. So keeping the shadow, you don't necessarily need all this area on this side to make this image work. You could get rid of this to make that stronger.
Jane Webb, Lady Memory.
This is a nice clean image. Not as maybe extreme of showing shadows, which is the assignment, right, for this particular shot. But again, I do enjoy like how you've composed this as far as your lines go, that's great. Love the clouds in the background. So as far as, putting those back there, well, fantastic. Whoever did that, because you or God that put the clouds there, worked out really well. But nice lighting, nice time of day, nice simple arrangement. The only input I might give you, again, I don't know necessarily having all that room because, I start looking at that background and see all this stuff, and your story is definitely like in here.
Dave Johnson, Lake Crescent Serenity.
All right, we'll talk about that later. So here, just such extreme lighting. It's so bright back here, and I don't know if you've got fog or what's happening back here. That's mist of some kind, but your sun's up because of the shadows. Like this is really interesting to me here. Like I enjoy this. This is kind of nice, but it doesn't seem to like blend all together for me as nicely as what I would like for it to. And then sort of randomly, we've got, these guys out here which wanted to ruin your shot and jump in there. I think it would have been cleaner not to have that in it. So either by waiting or getting that shot faster or something, I think would make that a cleaner image. It's just too many kind of pieces of things I kind of have to keep jumping around to kind of look at. So it doesn't, for me, blend as well as what I would like to see. But cool spot. I want to go there.
Kurt Sessler, Light and Shadow.
All right. Again, taking ordinary objects and making them interesting. Nice lighting on this, nice placement of that particular image, nice warm tones. Again, just be really careful about losing your highlights when you're working on these things. And then if you're going to be super picky, if you're doing commercial work at all with bottles, you got all those reflections that are in there. And somebody's like, well, that's how it was. But if you want to make this image look cleaner and focus on that, I personally would take those out if you have the ability to do that.
Tony Johnson, Mango.
Yes. All right. Mango, as we always say. All right. So nice composition, nice color harmony across this. Everything about this. The texture is a bit strong on this. And then I don't know if it's from applying all that texture to it that you're getting this weird, fringing around the entire mango and then back here as well. So this leads into technical excellence, which is one of the things that we do look for in imagery. So if you're looking at this, it's kind of one of those like, oh man, that's so cool. And then you look close and you see that and you're like, oh crap, man. It's like, you just wish that weren't there. So a lot of times I don't know if that's what was done here. If you're applying those filters of extreme, contrast or textures or things like that, you do have to zoom in because you're making that much of a transition between something that's like really one color and really another color. You can kind of get that around the edge of it because it doesn't know quite what to do. So it will pick something and it will do it. Usually not looking natural by the time it's done, right? So just be aware of those things.
Shashi Air, Me and My Shadow.
All right. Nice. So again, this is one of those cases. I look at him, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I see the graphic that's up on the wall. I see his shadow. That's fantastic. And so I really enjoy this part of the image. I personally don't need any of that at all. At all, right? Do the old trick. Hold your hand up there. Just look at that dude and get rid of that side of it. To me, that's such a much stronger image. And as far as your assignment goes, I don't know what parameters you guys were given, but there's your assignment right there, right? That's not adding to it. I don't need to know where that shadow, how that's being created. So your story's over there, and that's fantastic. Nice tones and everything. I'd make a choice on the feet though. You're a little close there. Either have those in or, excuse me, go ahead and cut them out. But since the instruments are there and everything, I would leave them in. Come out just a little bit so we're not cutting half his foot off.
Jerry Postno, Sand Dune Shadows.
So this is one of those things, again, I want to be there. It just looks cool. And I like the tones of this. But right off the bat, I'm just looking at just the wacky grain and color shift and everything is like happening up here and here and here. And then I see things down here that are like sticking up at the bottom. And nothing seems to be like crisp in focus for me. This almost looks like you have a giant scene and then you're like, oh, I like this part of it right here. So we're just going to blow that one tiny part of the scene up. That's how it feels. I don't know that's how it's done, but that's how much it feels because it's so out and so grainy, out of focus. So this one for me would suffer from technical excellence to keep it out of competition. But cool spot.
Ed Hageman, shadow controlled.
All right. So again, this is one of those storytelling images. You know, I like the way that we have our main subject here. These two are trying to figure out what's going on. You do have your shadow coming across there. Ideally, you know, that person, get them out of the way, your goalie. But this is great. Again, because you can kind of weave a story and wonder what's going to happen next, right? So nicely done for those conditions. You can only control so much of that.
Joe Ream, shadow ladder.
Shadow ladder.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so again, this is interesting. You have those leading lines into it, getting a little bright right in here on that. So just be careful that you're not losing your detail in those areas where that sunlight is blasting against a surface like that, right? And it's not necessarily adding to your image, so you could actually crop that out and make it even a little bit more of a slim line and sort of avoid the problem that you're having of how bright that is on that particular spot.
Marta Namek, shadow makes light circle.
All right, so I like this kind of scene and this old architecture that you have here, but different time of day for me, just right off the bat, would make this so much more interesting. If you're going to keep this in color like you've done here, and it's just kind of washed out, you know, overall, come back in the morning, come back in the evening, look and see when that's interesting. But if you put more interesting light on this by choosing those times of day, this would be much better.
Brad Luxford, shadow of its former self.
Guy looks like one of my sinks at home. I'm not going to lie. It's built in the 50s and we still got one of these. All right. So this is great. Again, it's one of those simple everyday things, right? But you saw it in a unique way and just capturing part of that and that great shadow that's there. So this is great. Like the positioning of it, maybe a little tight, you know. I don't know what else is over here. Maybe the shampoo bottles are there, but if you could have a little bit more space on that side to give that a little more room, the composition of this would be even stronger. The other part is, you know, I'm not sure exactly what's happening here. I don't know if over time there's something that's happening with the sink, but you've got all this texture that's in here. You've got nothing from there down, and then it picks up again. So a judge is going to sit there and kind of scratch their head a little bit and try to understand why it's that way. So just be mindful of that.
Shannon Mitchell, shadow flight.
Yeah, I heard it back there. It's like, you know, we're looking for those images, right? That pop around. That's like, wow, that's cool. That's what we're looking for. So this one would really benefit, in my opinion, from getting rid of like, oh, this area over here and just sort of centering that up, maybe even into a square composition. That would be like really, really cool. It's really cool already. It'd be even more cool if you did a little more composition on that. Nice job.
Carol Annis.
And hold up here. We haven't even asked how many images we have. Are we doing good on time and rolling through these? Sure. You need me to go faster, slower? I need a high sign or a low sign. Are we doing good? All right. 200.
No.
And that was only 33. That's great. Nice.
Shadows of Capistrano.
All right. Nice texture in this. Again, you guys maybe the the comment of the night, time of day. I like the texture in this. I like seeing this. I like the repeating lines. I would just always go back to these places if you have the opportunity to, different times of day, just to see how that light is working. A little bit softer on all that, I think, would make it even more interesting.
Linda Mickelson. Shadows without ends.
You are correct. So this is fantastic. I start looking at all the graphic elements of this, and then I get down here, I'm like, oh man, can't stand this thing down here. And I know people are like, well, it was there. I can't take it out, right? Well, with AI, we can do everything. Put dead presidents there if you want. I don't recommend that. So in this area down here, you can either crop that out or remove it, but everything else has such a place for it. I like that you saw this composition and this shadowing, but it's those little things right there that can really sometimes make the difference in a point scale. So for us, our point scales, what you want to achieve is an 80 or higher. That's what we call a merit print. Sometimes little things like that will make the difference between it being a 79, which you get nothing, or getting that 80 where you get that merit. So I'm just pointing that out. If you guys are interested in that, that's the kind of things we look for.
Marianne Barnhart. Somber stairway.
Nice. And it took me just a second to get up to this, shadow that's coming around here. Again, what did it say? Time of day, right? So that may be it for today. This is so blasting of light coming in here, right? So I still feel, even with that, you could have adjusted your exposure down, probably easily a stop, and made that much more inviting, possibly in that, and made those shadows even stronger, and still seeing plenty of texture in those steps curving around and going down there. So, play with that. The other part is, I don't know that this stroke is your friend because it's so bright already in that window. It's making my eye jump out and look at that stroke that's around your print. It should be, in my opinion, sort of a subtle complement to your presentation. I would have gone with something darker than that. That's just a brighter edge that's just drawing me away from a point that's already an issue for me to begin with, right?
That was Susan Kennedy.
Anthony, a couple feedback from the chat. One is if you could talk about presentation to those that may not know, like presentation layer. And also, as you're talking about a part of the image, if you could describe what area, because those on the Zoom can't see what you're pointing at.
Well, why not? You're the multimedia guy. Why can't, just kidding. Okay.
Your choice, which one you want to tackle first.
Okay, for this particular image, do you want me to talk about this or just in general?
In general.
In general. Okay. I'll keep that in mind, sir. And keep yelling and screaming if I miss it.
Spinning between light and shadow.
All right. So this is great, because again, taking into account our assignment, this is a unique view, something we don't typically get to photograph. So already it's interesting. It's placed beautifully on a third, and then you've got that shadow that's over there on the side that almost doesn't even look like it would be real. I mean, that's just really well done. So as far as placement and everything on this, nicely done.
Pat Davis. Stoa of a Talos portico.
Okay, did you have difficulty with that?
The title?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Because we're going to talk about that, and I'm not picking on you. But this always comes up. You don't necessarily know the person reading the title of your print is as intimately familiar with this place as what you were because you went there, right? I would have totally butchered that if I was in there trying to read it, okay? So in competition, if someone is stumbling over reading the title of your print, the judge is trying to sit there trying to figure out what that person is saying in a title. So immediately I'm confused, and then I'm going to look at the image and then try to figure out what the image is. that doesn't help you, that doesn't give you an advantage. So stay away from titles that are 10 words long. You don't need every description of where you were and what the time of day was and the name of the place, okay? The best images generally have come from simple composition, simple subjects, and also a simple title will help you as well. And again, foreign names, anything like that can definitely trip up somebody that, again, is not as intimately familiar as what you are with that subject. So just keep that in mind. All right. I would have done exactly the same thing, sir. So in this, I like great columns, great line leading into it. Again, over here in this area, this is not adding anything to your story at all.
On the
but it's
right-hand
giving
side.
you opportunity. So if you're looking at the right side of the image, because they can't see that, right? So we're looking at the right side of the image where all those clouds are peeking through the columns. That's not necessary to have this be an image for competition. You can easily take that off, still have even a stronger story, in my opinion, for this. So I would take off that half of a column on the right and come up to the next one, eliminate the high clouds there in the background through cropping.
And I have another challenge.
Did I do better that way? Okay.
Here's my next challenge. Kurt Steve Vader, I think.
Okay. So, okay.
Stone focus.
All right. So this is great, man. So right off the bat, you got that great curve that's sort of going up and around. You know, the person's in the center of that. They're obviously engaged in something. You have the secondary subject back there. Beautiful shadows on the ground. This is where that time of day actually is working for you because you're getting those nice harsh shadows, which adds to this. And whatever is up at the top of this wall that's giving you those little ridges on the ground is like super lucky that you're able to get that. I would probably tone down the stones a little bit. They're a little bright for me around that. So if you're into doing additional work to your image after you take it post-production, it's going to help everything else stand out a little bit more. But nicely done.
Venkat Santosh.
Don't run off yet. Leave that on there. Sorry. The stroke that's around this, because I just now got out to sort of see that there's a secondary stroke that's on that. So you've done a black and white image, and then you've done a super bright band around that. That gives the judges something to compare in your image. So if this is super bright white in here, I can now use that as a comparison to judge blacks, whites, grays in the actual subject itself. So be aware of that. Because if you're not technically really good in that image and you're giving them a yardstick to compare it to, that sometimes can work against you. For this, now that I see it, it is drawing my eye to it because I'm standing here looking like, wow, that is actually kind of bright. I should have addressed that. To me, that's too bright of a line. And then I'm seeing this colored line outside of that for presentation, which looks like a brown tone, and you have a black and white image. Now, this is artist choice. My personal preference is that doesn't add anything to this image by having that be a color around it. I don't think that that's necessary. If you want to do another shade of a dark tone of gray or something around that, then that would be totally fine. But again, now you've introduced a color into a black and white image, and it doesn't make sense to me as a judge why you do that. So, sorry. Not that color. So I wouldn't, yeah, that was super helpful, wasn't it? I personally wouldn't do a color of any kind on a black and white image for that stroke as this is presented to us. It's up to these guys, man. I show up, Okay, sure. And see, that's the thing. Sometimes, and I said this earlier, I got to give the benefit sometimes of the maker that the detail is there, because in projection, sometimes that detail can be lost or the colors can actually shift. So if that's black, great choice. You're now redeemed. Good job. But that whole composition, everything in that is great. I would still tone the white down. It is a little bright. And it may not be that bright on your original, so.
All right. The next one is suspended sculpture.
All right, really cool. So it'd be even more cool if we could get rid of the string that's up there. And again, I don't know what you guys' rules are for doing post-production work. But if I were doing this, if that's gone, that would be such a clean, cool, crazy image. I could also see commercial applications for an image like that even. So, for the museum or art show or anything where this piece happened to be, or the artist that created this. So this is really a cool presentation of this. The shadows, and then you get down here at the bottom, and I'm seeing like these really subtle shadows coming up from the bottom into that. So this is really well done. I'm just not a fan of the suspension. I realize it's there, so take that for what it's worth.
Kurt Engelman. Treble.
Trouble?
Treble. Treble.
like trouble? Who's in trouble? All right, so hey, how about time of day? Has anybody heard me mention that before? So this is just, again, possibly in the presentation I'm seeing here, this could be brighter than what the original is. So what I'm seeing is I'm seeing these really cool shadows that are over on the left-hand side. I'm seeing the line of that's coming up. But then I have like this giant out of focus shirt and rump and slacks over here on the right-hand side. And that doesn't add to this image for me at all. I could easily do without that and just concentrate just on the left half of the photo where those shadows are most prominent and interesting to me. I don't think including the person in this particular case adds anything because you're giving me the largest thing in the actual image out of focus, right? So it's actually a visual barrier for me personally.
Gary Kornfeld. Triangles.
All right, great. This is what we look for an assignment like this. Really enjoy the lines. Everything is exactly how they're supposed to be, the repeating elements. I probably would have told this guy to pack bags and get out. They can't see me online, right? So the guy on his balcony, tell him just to go inside for a minute, get out of your shot so you can take that. And other than that, this is really cool. Yeah, no, when you're a photographer, you have a special license, right? You can't read no trespassing signs and, you can say, hey, man, you're my shot. Can you move? So it's a gift that they give us when we get a camera, right? Yeah. Don't try that at home, kids.
Paul Bickford.
This is not legal advice.
What's Up, Buttercup?
All right. Great title. Great title for this. And great seeing the shadows that are back here. This is nice. This is one of those cases, some people are going to look at it like, oh my God, I love that ties in with the buttercups. Again, for me, that bright stroke that's out there kind of pulls me out of it a little bit. I would love to say focused in this area here. That's really cool. And again, if we're going to play, I would darken down the green in this and sort of concentrate even more on the buttercups and the shadow on the ground there.
Karen Davis. Whispers of the Past.
All right. Great title. Enjoy the title. So the shadows, everything about this, just looks kind of regal the way that those, ornamental fence decoration shadows are showing up, the trees, this thing here, it almost looks like you can almost see like a face in that. So you can kind of play with this visually. The only thing that's getting me on this is just that pavement down at the bottom. I just don't enjoy that sliver that's going across there. I would almost be inclined to take that out altogether, and I really don't think that's going to change anything. If that's not your cup of tea, then darken that down just so I don't notice it like as much.
Heidi Nunley. World's Biggest Shadow.
Yeah, indeed. So this is cool. Not an easy shot to get at all. Again, personal preference. The white is really, really dominant on this image. So that area is so cool. I probably wouldn't personally have it that bright to keep my eye sort of in on that. But this is great. This is difficult to capture. and it's done well. So that's quite the shadow.
Martin Evans, Yosemite Falls.
Anybody? Yay! Time of day. Winner. So again, can't really tell from the projection here, but it looks like you're losing detail in the face of this where it's like really bright. That's your enemy during the middle of the day and photographing things like this. And I know somebody's going to say, well, that's when the bus was there, right? That's when we got off the bus to go photograph this with 10,000 of your best friends, right? Well, that's great that you went there. It's great that you saw it. I'm jealous that you were there and I was not, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily perfect for competition. Okay? So sometimes you just have travel photos. It is what it is. There's 10,000 people on your way. They're not going anywhere, right? You're still at the pyramids. Enjoy it, right? So this is kind of one of those things. You may not have been able to do it, but if you wave a magic wand, pick your time of day, and you have the luxury of being able to go out there, this would be so much better.
Terry Troxel. That's all of our assigned subject.
We're just doing projector adjustments here. It'll just be
In the
another
house,
second.
because all that, soccer stuff's allegedly coming, right? Everybody's getting crazy and paying like $10,000 a seat for, to go watch guys run around and kick a little ball in the field. That's crazy. That's camera gear right there. It's
Title is, Are They Dancing?
yeah. Nice. So this is just an open category. You want general comments?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll say the guy in the light blue is having way too much fun because he's just like kind of showing up and like, hey guys, what's up? He's got a very smug look there, doesn't he? While the other guy's doing all the work. So, man, sports is tough. It's really hard to catch those decisive moments. But the fact you've got the ball off the ground, you've got these cross legs are here. You always decorate in threes. So you got the three guys up front, the three in the back. That's really well done. However you coordinated that with him, great job. But as far as an action shot goes, this is great capture. These are hard to get, so well done.
Bill Whitworth. Backlit elegance.
All right, so this is great. I wouldn't say different time of day. You did great on that too. So it's nice backlighting on this. This is great shot. I just absolutely would love to have one more inch on that other side where you've got the feather going out of the image, and that's just one of those picky things. You have this space around this, and I don't know why. I don't know if you just couldn't zoom back far enough. It was that close to you to capture the whole thing. But, just be mindful of that when you're out, because those, again, little things can sometimes separate you from doing really well against another image in like a category or a trophy or something like that. If you're into competition, that could be the thing that separates you from someone else's image. Something that small. So just be aware that that's there, and the judges do look at those things.
Carol Annis. Bad hair, don't care.
Yeah. It took like a second too for me to kind of grasp that. So yeah, this is this is great. Great title, clever. Anything you can do to sort of make the title amusing, that works well. Then the judges are kind of thinking, making those connections. So humor is always great in my book. A little bright around that green area. If you could magically darken that down some to bring out those little tufts of hair, that would be even better again. You have a fairly shallow depth of field, so just be mindful of that. It looks like everything's pretty sharp on the head and everything. Again, for folks that don't shoot this, you have an exceptionally narrow depth of field to work with here. And sometimes it just gets too wacky looking if you're not spot on. So this is well done.
Karen Davis. Bent, not broken.
I would love to see this at a different time of day. if it were like early morning, say, or late evening. This looks like almost like an overcast kind of day. I'm trying to see like clouds up there. So this is interesting. I would even look at this maybe as a black and white to see if maybe it's a little more of an interesting image that way. And everything's sort of coming out this direction. So it does sort of make me follow all this, but I don't really have a comfortable place to land as a main subject, right? So when you're standing there and you're looking at it, first of all, you're outdoors, you're in the woods, and that's my home place, man. That's where I want to be, right there. So I love this sort of a scene and enjoy this. But I really can't focus on a particular area in the image that you're trying to share with me what you're seeing. So it's a little bit more of a challenge for me to understand what you're trying to show me. Okay?
Susan Van Manen. Bourbon Trail Relic.
All right. So this image is almost immediately divided in half for me. Kind of, and again, in competition, we would never do this. Okay, I'm going to compare it with another image. Competition, we never do that. We only judge that image. But for the training purposes of this, the guy that we had with the out of focus slacks and shirt that was over on the right-hand side, this gives me sort of the same feel. It was just a visual barrier that was there, which was keeping me from enjoying the rest of the image. I don't know that you need to have all of this on the right-hand side to still tell me the story of the vintage piece that's in the background. I realize this is all together, but that's way more interesting in tones and appearance than what this giant round almost, and it is getting out of focus if you look up here on the right-hand side of that. So your story's over there. Focus on what your story is and what you're trying to show me.
Kurt Sessler. Breakfast at Sunrise.
Nice. Take out a little bit of that top. You know, you're almost dead center on the composition of this, and then you're getting a little blocked up on your shadows on the underside of this also. And I know people are like, oh man, like, you know, that's how it was. Well, you don't want to lose all of that down there. You don't want to end up with like a black blob underneath. And again, I realize it could be in the projection that I'm seeing, and the original probably does have way more detail than what I'm seeing here. But I don't know necessarily we need all of that above it. If you take off some of that from the top and come down on that, which is my preference, I like the warmth better than the cool, personally. But you can play with that. But it's just a very centered kind of composition with where his head is. I'd want to push that composition a little bit to a little stronger area.
Marta Namek.
Are we doing okay with the kids online? Any comments we need to address? Okay.
Bridging Day and Night.
Love you people. So, I guess that's a star we're getting out there. Long exposures are tough if that's what's going on here. And I'm kind of looking because I think we're getting maybe some motion in that bridge because of the exposure. If you look at the vertical supports on that, that's just one of those things. Yeah, that helped straighten those lines up. Thank you. Those lines look like they've moved. So if you're doing like a 30-second exposure or something, you're going to start seeing the motion of those things like moving. So just be aware of that. You're also getting a lot of really wacky colors down in your water here, and that looks like that may have come from noise. So if you're shooting at a higher ISO, you can definitely get that when there's not much light that's happening sort of down there as far as the sensor goes. It's going to seem brighter to your eyes because your eyes do have more latitude, right? So just be mindful because there's all kinds of crazy colors. As I get closer to this, I see more and more wild colors all the way across that. So some of that could be coming from the reflections. Just be aware some of that could be coming from noise. And again, sometimes you pick that up from those post-production processing techniques that you sometimes apply to it. So this is interesting. I don't know, man. I would struggle a little bit on this one, sort of composition-wise. The horizon looks pretty straight. The bridge is a little off. And then it's like going off into space, but then this other bridge is coming in. If I were there, I'd probably try to play a little bit with including a little bit more or concentrating on just that one stanchion on the right more to maybe make it more interesting. But I mean, it's cool. And all that back in the background, just been sitting around where I put my eye out. The other bridge is really cool as well.
Can noise reduction fix the water?
Sometimes it's getting better, but sometimes you run that and it just still looks like mush. And a lot of times when you do the noise reduction,
The question
especially
is,
the
can
early
noise
version,
reduction?
you
help?
lose such sharpness in your image that you got a trade-off. So it's not a magic pill, but AI is getting better and better, right?
Sorrow. Commissioned work.
Nice. This is great storytelling in this. Just right off the bat. Great storytelling. So, even if we can't really tell who this person is that's doing the art, just the fact of seeing the image, seeing the subject, and they're on a very strong third, then you look over, you start seeing all the other artwork that's coming back. So this is one of those things back with the world's great storytellers. You can start weaving a story about all of this. So this is well done.
Joe Reen. Koi coyote.
All right. So again, looks like a little bit of a noise issue on this one as well, just like right out of the gate. Nice that he sat there and posed for you. So whatever you had to do for that, kudos. But then you've got these really bright green leaves in your way. And I know you're gonna be like, well, that's how it was, right? Yeah, that's how it was. And you can't exactly go up there and necessarily move those. Probably wouldn't recommend it. But it's kind of like the travel thing. It's great that you saw this and you caught that, but it may not necessarily play out in the cards for a competition print. The face of that, however, if you go in really close on the face and you sort of ditch the rest of that, then you've got like a really interesting headshot, which you'd probably want to use, right? So just be mindful of those things. Because when you're there, you're like, this is really cool, it's amazing. Probably your adrenaline's going if this is actually out in the wild and not at a zoo, wherever it happened to be. Those big green things will kill you. If that does not bother you so much, I would at least tone them down so they're not so bright and green.
Rebecca Perry. Descending.
So this is kind of like one of those graphic things. And the more I keep looking around, like the more I see, right? So we were saying before about cutting things off. To me, in this particular case, it's almost kind of interesting that I see that sliver of light that's happening on the left-hand side. And I'm trying to figure like, where are they and what reflection am I seeing? Because that's what that looks like to me. The wacky color of that escalator that's like going up, like that's interesting. The fact that the lady's just looking forward, the guy's looking off. It's just, I don't know, kind of a wacky little slice of life of street photography that I think was well done. It's just interesting.
Jay Denny. Dome of Democracy.
So the first thing I'm looking at is the symmetry of this. So whenever I see a shot like that, I'm seeing how well they balanced everything on this. And this seems to be done really well. It's a very much an equal amount of space as far as how they're presenting this. There's nice detail that's in this across it. I'll debate the bright white on the outside. In this case, it's not that bad. But again, once you sort of see it, it's like, man, it's so bright out there. I almost wonder if it would benefit from something that's a darker tone that's in the scene rather than a white. Because again, that white's always going to make your eye sort of bounce out and sort of see that.
Martin Evans. Driving his team.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. For those kids at home, that was time of day from the audience. This is one of those things. And again, it looks like we got some sort of a grain issue or something just overall for this. It just looks super grainy for this time of day. And I don't know if that's like a style that you enjoy personally. If there's, I don't know why else you would be using high grain. What looks like you have an extreme amount of light here. I know that the Amish don't enjoy being photographed. Maybe this is midnight and you just cranked it up to like 20 billion ISO and got this shot. I mean, even the horse seems to be a little upset sticking his tongue out at you over capturing that. And I don't know if the boy's that happy with you either. But anyway, this is a really nice scene, but it would benefit from a better quality of light on this scene, right? And I know in this case, you probably didn't have the luxury of being able to do this at a different time of day, but it's just so blasting bright along the grass at the bottom. You're getting this wacky bright light from the right-hand side of the image coming into it. It's just one of those things. Great that you saw it. Great you captured it. You're going to get hammered in competition, unfortunately, because of the technical quality of this.
Ed Hageman, Dusk Sentinels.
All right. Great time of day. Yay. This is exciting, man. This is exciting. Again, we've decorated in threes over here on the right-hand side, which is nice that they did that for you. The tone and the sky, this is really, really cool. That white border is so wide and so bright, and nothing in that scene is that shade, right? So put a warmer tone stroke around that for a framing, I think would make this look so much better. And I realize like old school, you know, they would do fine art prints and we'd always use the white mats around it and like, oh, that's how we always used to do it. And if you like that, go for it, man. That's great. And maybe as a print, maybe it would be okay. But for this, it just competes like crazy for me. And then once I see it, my eye keeps going out to it because this is an incredible print, an incredible time of day. Thank you. And I really enjoy this. So well done. Change that white.
Venkat Santosh, Extreme Goth.
All right. So you're laughing already. I hadn't even said anything. So anyway, yeah, man, what a subject here. You know, this is obviously something I don't see it every day. Maybe the places you guys hang out, you do. This is really cool. I like the intent of this. I would really enjoy seeing this as a black and white image or just toning down that background because I'm bouncing between seeing this person and seeing that big white bright building which does nothing to add to this image in the background. This could have potentially been solved by having elevated yourself a little bit if that were possible. And if you can't elevate yourself, can you change your subject to a place of being lower or put her to a different pose of maybe where she's kneeling or squatting down or something like that? And I do realize that changes everything about her pose and how she's doing. So that's your choice. But if you're trying to solve this problem, those are ways to solve it because the problem I do see in this image is that building in the background, right? Because that girl is crazy, man. That'd be fun to photograph. You know, it's just a unique subject. It's just interesting, something you don't see every day. But man, that building in the background, and I see like porta potties or something back there, and I'm like, oh man, you know, get rid of that.
Dave Johnson, Eye on the Ball.
Go back, man. I don't ever do that. Can you go back through the magic of the keyboard? I'm just seeing this. So I'm not sure what's going on with the chain. And I just caught that as that went away. Now, I'll tell you a couple of things here. Because it's either that or you guys can run out the door, okay? As a judge, sometimes things will go past you and they'll be like, oh man, I either should have fought for that print because I liked it more than it got scored, or you saw something and it scored really well, but you saw something technically that you just can't let it pass because you don't want the maker to submit it to the next level and get hammered for it there. It's always to the benefit of the maker. It may not seem like it and it may not sound like it when we're doing that, but I will sometimes call an image back. It may just hit me like a second or two later. It could be 15 minutes later. Could it not, Fred? Yeah. But when I was getting ready to flip off the screen, I'm seeing the white in the chains and I don't understand what's going on there. So I don't know if some kind of artwork's been done there, something's been placed there. It's just one of those things, once you see it, you're like, that's really wacky. Why is that that way? So I don't know what the answer is, but just be mindful of those types of things if you've done something, because then I'm sort of seeing it a little bit around her left wrist here. You guys are seeing that? And then like her left leg is so much brighter than her right leg. So now I'm thinking some work's been done to this image, which is fine, but just make sure you really look over it and make sure things make sense when you're done, right? So sorry, go.
Eye on the ball.
All right. Again, sports is tough. If this is your kid or your grandkid, most adorable kid ever, right? So judges, we got to be careful when we have judge kids, right? They'll come up and take you out later. Like, that's my grandson. That's his first game ever. His first home run. So yeah, beautiful kid. All right. So anyway, I would crop down on this from the top because you've got that bright band of white coming across the top there. And my eyes sort of going up to that. Now, you see how the stroke on this one actually is pulled from the jersey, it looks like, and then made darker. So it's in the same tonal range, they just made it darker. So if those that may not be familiar, you can use your little color picker, and you can, in Photoshop, you can pick a color in the jersey. When it brings up the little color chart, you just go down in a vertical line. So you're staying in the same range, you're just making that shade darker, right? You ever been to Lowe's for white paint? How many shades of white paint are there, right? You'll understand that really quickly. So that is a nice stroke that I do enjoy. I would just come down and just concentrate on that little guy a little bit more.
Carol Hageman. Fencing.
Oh, man. That, first of all, is just impressive. I really enjoy different compositions, This nice long print sort of telling us that story is great. And normally I would say obviously come in from the right, but you see the guy's leg is there on the ground. You're like, well, that's clearly part of the story here, which is adding to it. So this is just a great capture for this sport. Kudos all the way around for this. I don't know necessarily that's the strongest choice for a inner stroke line on this. I'm not sure exactly where you pulled that from, unless you pulled it from a tone of like the hand or something. So I maybe would play with that a little bit, but that's kind of on the border for me. But great capture.
Ling Whitworth. Final sprint. Nice.
So again, this is tough, man. This is one of those things, catching sports and catching that thing airborne. I, again, could be in the projector. It looks super bright on that dirt underneath. And so I'm really enjoying seeing the look of the horse, the jockey, the feet are in the air. But then once I get down there, all that's just like seems way brighter to me than what it should be for me to enjoy that image as much as what I want to. So if we could make that a little bit darker, and you probably could take off a little bit of the bottom of that and still be totally fine with this image.
Harold Lana. Gentle James.
The kids at home just can't see that. All right. So, hey, time of day would be really cool for this. Like early morning, late in the day. This is a great scene, sort of seeing this with the posts that are there, the trees in the background, but just imagine that's like first thing in the morning or end of the day. And you've got that beautiful, nice, warm light that's across there. I just think there would be such a much stronger image than what this is.
Kiri Gottlieb. Heaven on Earth.
Oh man. Yeah, see, I want to be right there. You see, you guys that know me put this stuff in. They're like, oh, he'll like that. This is great. Yeah, first of all, I want to be there. I'm not sure why you didn't ask me to go with you. Pretty rude, but we'll get over that. The only tough thing here is when you start getting like these central pines that are growing up in the very center of your lake, which somebody didn't go in there and chop that down for you, right? That's tough. But you get in those situations where that's really obstructing that view. if at all possible, try changing your view a little bit. Move a little bit to your left, a little bit to your right. Can you do anything to get an elevation to sort of change that? Because this is a great scene, and it's so unfortunate that that one in the very dead center of the photo practically is just so much in the way of seeing that lake. And this is just an amazing scene. So anyway, take that for what it's worth.
Hattie Nunley. Elimination.
Cool. Did anybody besides me almost think that dude had like 6 fingers? Something about that when that first popped up just doesn't seem natural to me. I'm not sure, man. I don't know how he that's crazy. All right, back to what I'm supposed to be doing here. This is really cool. This is great storytelling. Again, you look at those hands, look at his look, you start weaving the story of what this guy is imagining. What's the story? Is this a daily ritual? What is this, right? The illumination on his face, all of that is really well done. If this is street photography or staged, I don't know, but this is a nice capture. And cropping.
Estacio Spinos. Kolkata street scene.
Seems a little bright. So if you get back here again, this is street photography. You're capturing what's there, right? You're not orchestrating anything. I do like the intensity that's in this guy's face because it looks like he's wondering, like, am I going to take you out for taking my picture or not? You can't tell if it's happy. I really enjoy like the dogs just sort of sitting there kind of watching also. The arrangement of this, everything about this I enjoy as far as street photography goes, other than the fact it's so blasting bright around the top of that and going down sort of the right to where the dogs are. Again, if you do like photojournalism, there's limited amount of things that you can adjust in an image. You can't like add or take away things, but you can adjust your brightness and darkness and things like that. So if you even did an overall a little bit of a darker image than this, and again, could be in the projection of what I'm seeing, I still think you would have a strong image. If you have the ability to go in and darken those really bright areas that are in there to make that guy stand out even more, I think you'd have an even stronger image.
Gene Boyd. Leaning Lighthouse of Ludington.
All right, so the tone of this, fantastic. The quality of this is not there. There is nothing in this image sharp to me at all. And you're going to get hammered on your technical excellence for that. Seeing this scene, having those tones, fabulous. Keep doing that. The way you have this arranged, the couple, the dude at the end fishing, the birds, I mean, this is like the ideal kind of a scene, right? But I don't know if this is from cropping in, from high ISO, if you're hand holding and shooting at, 1/5 of a second, I don't know. But whatever technique you were doing to capture this has worked against you, and I don't see anything sharp in that image, and that's where you're going to get hammered.
Brad Luxford. Little Hummer.
Nice. And man, these aren't easy to capture either. And that wing looks like it's really pretty sharp from here and even getting up on it. So that's great. These little guys are hard to get. So nice capture. I would even come in a little bit closer, sort of overall around it to concentrate on him a little bit more if you can. And again, that bright white area that's coming in on the left-hand side of the image, I would darken that down because that is competing against the same kind of tone that's on the chest of that bird, right? So your eye is going to visually be bouncing between those two tones because they're the same.
Philip Snyder. Tasty grass.
All right. So, this is interesting, and please, make or do not take offense to this. This is like the ideal kind of a scene, right? You have this guy at the end fishing, the birds, I mean, this is like the ideal kind of a scene. So if you even did an overall a little bit of a darker image than this, I think you'd have an even stronger image. I mean, this is interesting, and please make or do not take offense to this. But to me, it looks like you were walking along, you saw this, you snapped a photo, and you kept going along. All right? I know that's going to sound harsh, but the lighting is flat across this. You have the white area around it. It's bright green all the way around the sky. So look at different angles. Can you lay on the ground and get a different angle of this? Can you darken this entire thing down? Can you get above it and shoot down? Is there anything you can stand on? Challenge yourself and push yourself to look at a different angle or get in closer or something to make this more interesting than something that looks like you kind of walked up, captured it, and kept going. So again, don't take offense to that, but it looks more like a snapshot than something that was crafted as an image, if that makes sense.
No offense taken. Kemp Davis.
Cool. Where's the other? Is it this way, Fred? Okay.
Near the fallow field.
Nice scene. And so I don't know exactly what's happening up here at the top, but what I will say is when I look up at that technique of what's going along there, what I see is a sensor or dust spot that's happening up here at the top. So that's another thing you can get hammered on. You can have a beautiful image. And if you have those spots across there, you did all this work to an image of getting there, capturing everything else. And then you've got that little, can everybody see that? And then there's like another baby one over here. They could have been reproducing. I don't know. I only see those two. There could be other ones, but that's what happens though, because you see one and then you're going to what? You're going to look and see if there's more or if that's just a one-off kind of an issue. We have the bright white of the azaleas or whatever, dogwoods or whatever this is here, not an azalea. And then you've got the bright white over here. So again, my eye is going to be competing back and forth between the white in the tree and the white that's around the stroke of that. And then it just so happens you got a really light roof over on the left that you're seeing only part of it. So this is an interesting scene. Again, place I would enjoy being. A different time of day would probably make this even more exciting.
Susan Kennedy. Paint splash party.
There you go. Yeah, see? Who said it? Who said, wow? You know, that's what we're looking for. Oh, thanks for it. Well, yeah, we want to see things that are different. Because, I mean, you see like another dog and another sunset and another sun. And I don't want to be like that. But if you see things that are more typical and then you see something that's really unusual, it's like, oh, wait, now that's cool. Makes you look, right? So this is kind of one of those things. It's kind of weird. Almost looks like the reflection initially looks sharper to me than the top part of it. So for these, just make sure you do have a sharp plane across that. It looks like it does where the edge of the reflection is. I can't tell where our edges of the image are. So I don't know if this is a square presentation or if it's a rectangle presentation. If I can't tell on the screen where the edges of this are.
It's a square.
But yeah, square is what I would definitely recommend. So well done.
Cindy Walker. Petals and water.
Nice. So again, nice, simple image, simple title, nice tones in this. The green of that stem looks like it's glowing a little bit unnaturally. So if I could wave my magic wand, I would darken down that really bright kind of glowing area. It just looks a little unnatural compared to how cool the color in that flower is, because that's beautiful.
Kurt Engelman. Phoebe at sunrise.
All right. So great capture in this little guy. Looks pretty sharp across there. Looks like he's happy to be posing. Be careful on chopping off the little fellow's tail. Probably affect him in flight. And then the other thing with the giant white band around the entire image, right? That I don't think, in my opinion, is helping your image. It would need, if you even decide to keep the white, I would go at least half, you know, that size, just right out of the gate and see what that looks like. But may not be the strongest. If you're doing like note cards or something like that, that's kind of how I could see this being used in a commercial application or doing like art shows or something. This would be a great item for that. Then that would probably be okay. But for competition and presentation, I would knock that width of that down.
Squint your eyes. And when you squint your eyes,
Mm-hmm.
the brightest part of the picture will jump out. And each of these, if you squinted your eyes, you would be seeing the stroke line rather than the image.
Yeah, is everybody catching that? Everybody just have fun for a second. Just squint your eyes and look at that screen. And look how bright that, that white line gets. Isn't that crazy? Good point, Fred. Thank you.
Kurt Stiefvater. Rain of Diamonds.
Oh, man. That's great. Great title. Great impact. And even though that face is in the center of this, you know, you always have your rules, but then you know you can break them occasionally. So in this, I don't mind that at all. Do I think it'd be stronger cropped in maybe a little differently? Personally, I do. But man, that's a great capture. Tack sharp on that. The splashes. This is just phenomenal. Great job.
Pat Davis. Riposte.
Yeah. Again, so I'm looking at this again. You're doing sports, you're sort of capturing this. You have limited opportunity for what you're able to do. Sometimes even your positioning, you can't move, right? Here, like roller derbies are that way. Got to put you in a little box and you can't move, right? So I don't know for scenes like this, how much leeway you have to move around during the sport. I will say I enjoy the person on the left more because you have that foot off the ground and it's more dynamic, and the person on the right is way more static. This could be the difference of a 15th of a second, right? Or a 1/25th of a second, depending on how fast they're moving, right? And I don't think they're probably moving slow. I would look for a stronger image where they're engaged with each other over what this one is. It almost looks like the guy on the right, or person on the right, I guess I should say, is just kind of like a little more static, anticipating what's going to happen. I would enjoy I see now, Carolyn and Julie. Sorry, ladies. So I would want a more dynamic engagement between the two of them. And if you're there and you're shooting that could be one of those scenarios. I'm not a big motor drive fan, but when you're doing sports and you're doing something that's moving like that fast, sometimes it's worth the extra images, download time, editing time, everything else after it to do that. Especially if it's a non-repeatable event, or if you're like at the finals and this determines whether they're going to the Olympics or something and it's a big deal, or is this just in practice, right? So calibrate why you're shooting it to begin with the amount of effort and technique that you're putting into it. Because sometimes I think people lose that part of it. And some people will shoot everything on motor drive. I'm not a huge fan of that. I would much rather you train yourself to look for those decisive moments. And in general, most people respond in a very similar way. And so you can almost anticipate, probably watching this sport for a couple of minutes, what's going to happen next. And you're going to be ready for that moment when they are more engaged. That's what you want to do. And just motor driving the whole thing, now you're going to have 2,000 images to download rather than 200. And I don't know if you value your time or not, but that's the sort of thing I started thinking about as I went on, is being more selective about why am I taking it, what feeling, message, or emotion am I trying to convey, and am I using the best technique, the best tool, and everything else to capture what's in front of me. So I realize that's a big tangent, but if you can digest a third of what I just said and apply that, I promise ultimately it will help you.
Michael Bryant. Same, but not the same.
All right. So, so this is interesting. I'll give you props for capturing this. But whatever weird technique has been applied to this, people are either going to love that or not. But it's just a really weird smoothness or something that's like happening on the face of this, especially this person on the right. And then you've got this large blown out white blouse or jacket on the right. So this is interesting. It's an interesting capture. It's a little wacky. I don't know if the technique that's been applied to it was necessary to still make this a strong and interesting image. So just be mindful of that. Maybe even go back to your original if you can, and just sort of maybe look at it from a fresh standpoint and go back to that again. But good for seeing that, or if it wasn't arranged and you just happened to capture that streetwise.
Linda Mickelson, Savannah Symphony.
All right. So again, just a wacky technique has been applied to that. You see, you folks like how I hold back, right? So, you immediately see that. I mean, I just don't understand the point of having all of the weird lines that are showing up, especially like I first saw it here. Then I see like crazy texture, and it's just weirdness all the way through that, which whatever you did to apply that, I don't think adds to the image. So again, I would go back to the beginning because this is interesting. But sorry, I got to point it out. One person looks like they're not getting the great end of the deal. You're here, you've traveled here, you're capturing this imagery, right? So you clearly have images a few seconds before and a few seconds after this unfortunate incident occurred. So I would go back and look at those images also and see if you have one that may be a little stronger and not so disturbing.
Chachier.
Still open, right? Still open. Still open.
Secretariat.
Oh, that's just crazy. So just the impact of that alone and like the look of that, that's just like startling, interesting, all at like the same time. That looks like something you wake up in a nightmare from or something, like this thing coming after you. So it's just, I see that, but then I'm like looking over here and I'm like seeing the buildings. Then I'm like, oh, wait, that's like a sculpture. I mean, it just, initially you see, or I saw like the eyeball and I'm thinking it's like real, right? So, I mean, it took a second for that, which is great because you forced that view of this subject on me and immediately evoked an emotion in me, which is like fantastic, right? So that's great. Now, if I could go in again, wave a magic wand. Once I see that, that's like the coolest part of this, but then you've got those freaking buildings there in the background that they wouldn't blow up so you could take your picture, right? So can you change your angle a little bit lower and eliminate that and still get that cool perspective? I don't know. I'm just challenging you to see that when you take it and think about that. Because that could have been the difference with that lens being that close, potentially being down only maybe 6 more inches, potentially eliminating all that other stuff back there. So just something to think about.
Michael Orr. Serenity.
All right. Nice. Again, can't tell in the projection, but we got blasting white on the back of that. Just make sure when you do these, you have detail and your highlights of that white that's on the back. And then it's getting really super dark on the front of that, so you're almost losing detail of where this little guy is. So just be mindful. These are tough, man. You got a really bright thing. You got really deep shadows back in the background. And again, could be time of day, could help you out on that. So it's not so dramatic, but just be careful. It does look like you have sharp detail across that, which is nice, but that is so bright and almost looks to me, without getting right up on it, there's a little bit of a glow sort of coming around there. So again, be mindful of that.
Tony Johnson. Speedy.
All right. That's great. It's almost like, wow, man. It's like the old cartoons or something. That's fantastic. So this is, man, they're either going to like this or they're just not going to get it, right? When you walk into it with an image like this, the only thing I will say that where you kind of get hammered a little bit is that left-hand side over there. You sort of see how our lines are going along, and then all of a sudden it gets really weird, and like the horizon starts changing and all that gets wacky over there. So I don't know if that's a function of how you took this and moved it the last second or something. I don't know if you guys ever studied with Tony Sweet or not, but he used to do a lot of that motion type of work during an exposure, which would give it kind of a very familiar feel to what this is. So just be careful of that technique. Me personally, I would like to see part of that a little bit sharp and the rest of it moving, like their face or something like that, because I'm almost seeing like double ghosting images of the face as well. And it's just like the way that that leg is getting weird. And I used to be a runner, so I'm looking at the legs and they just look really wacky to me. I like that you're playing and I like that you're doing this. That is fantastic. Keep doing that. But make sure you vary your panning technique, your shutter speed, your motion, those types of things that you're clearly playing with and doing this. Because you're going to come across an image that's like, oh yeah, all right, now I get it. But if you can keep one pivotal part of it like sharp and let everything else be crazy around it, that can look pretty cool too.
Paul Bickford, Sunlit Solitude.
You guys didn't put a lot of portraits in this open stuff. You must have known I was coming. For the new guys, I'm a portrait guy, so we usually will hammer you on stuff like this. So this is great. You know, obviously attitude, outfit, location, you know, all that's kind of working for you. It's getting a little wacky on the technique, sort of in the background. That tree's going really crazy, really dark. You're getting weird things happening back there. I don't know that that's necessarily the strongest way of presenting that, because that story of this person is like fantastic. And you could easily come in a fourth from the right-hand side and get rid of that and have even a much stronger image, because the intensity and the colors and the look and the style, all fantastic.
Jerry Postno, Sushi Glutton.
What is happening here? It's just that'd be like the fattest looking bird I think I've ever seen in competition. No offense to this person here, the big boned bird that I've ever seen here. What a capture, man! I don't even know what to think of that. It's almost like you went into Photoshop and you used the liquify tool on this thing to make that happen. That's crazy. I've never seen this perspective or view. Now, I will say that that's cool sharpness across there. Great on the stroke line across it. I'm in favor of that. That black, everything about the presentation is nice. The tones of this are nice. Again, just be careful on that leg there that you're not losing detail in that bright white area. But man, great shot. That's wacky.
Ann Fulcher,
Nice job, Ann.
The Backyard Crew.
This is great. You captured this. If this is your crew that works for you, great that you captured this. As far as competition goes, again, it kind of goes back to like the turtle, right? It's almost like a little bit more of just like of a snapshot, more of something that's like really arranged. You got the kid on the far left that's kind of hanging out there. The dude beside him is kind of hanging out. The next guy's trying to be cool with his thumbs up. You know, it's a variance of looks of those people and of what they're doing. If this were going to be a portrait of these guys, let's say this is a family business, they want a portrait, they're all brothers and dads and uncles and that sort of thing, I would arrange them into poses for this rather than just having them stand there with their hands by their side and just hanging out like, just take the picture already, man, right? So it looks a little bit more of a snapshot more than something that's like created. So it's hard for me as a viewer not being there to understand why this was taken. And what was the title?
The Backyard Crew.
Yeah. So, you know, it is the Backyard Crew. I think that's probably pretty obvious. If it was a family thing, I would try to bring that into the title of it or a purpose for the photo. If it's being used for a commercial use, I don't know if you guys allow tear sheets or not. You can show how the image was used for a commercial application. So anyway, enough said.
Linda Schmiel, The Fallen.
Would really love to see this at a different time of day. And I don't know necessarily you need all that sky. If you bring that sky down to just above that tree, that becomes such a stronger image. And then the other thing that I know you don't have control over, but so much, is that big bright white building in the background. That could be part of this. I'm trying to read what's on there. Oh, it's like a Dollar Tree or something. I don't know. Family Dollar. I would holler for them to get out of the way if that is indeed that. So again, this is one of those things. I'm not there. Just be aware of it. You see the scene, you get wrapped up in like how this looks in front of you. Take a step to the right. Take another step to the right. See if you can change and still get a view that you can enjoy that still tells the story of what you're trying to tell, right? But for me, so much of that sky and that bright white building in the background totally takes away from this. The other thing it looks like, and it's hard to tell, is it looks like you're photographing the back of the stones, which nothing is on. In some places, if the spouse is buried with them, they'll put the spouse's name, typically the wife. For the old ones, will be on the back side of it. But we're seeing just the flats of that. So I would probably go to the other side, look back at it from the other direction, and see if you can get the names. Because when you go to these and you start seeing the actual names, and you start seeing dates, and you see where they served and what they did, the impact of your storytelling of this scene is so much greater, right? That's what's so powerful about the Virginia War Memorial, right? You go down, it's like all the names, right? So something to keep in mind.
Gary Kornfeld, To Fly with Grace.
Nice. Now the feathers are in. They didn't cut those out. That's fantastic. Again, this is kind of one of those things, because of the time of day, you're getting really bright light on the back of that, right? So I'm not going to harass you too much about that, but it does make it a challenge. Make sure you're not losing your detail on the back of that in those whites.
Terry Troxel, Vanishing Evidence.
That's great. So clever title. Takes you like a second to pick up on that, but that's fantastic. Creative, clever title, something simple. Maybe they're in with the sync fellow or person that was out before.
Marianne Barnhart, Weatherman.
All right, blasting light. It's just going to be tough, right? And I'm having a hard time relating that to the title. It's just, for me, hard making that connection. He's maybe standing there and kind of looking at the weather maybe that's coming in, but it doesn't draw me into it as much with that particular title. That's just me. And then it's so blasting bright coming through those clouds. Again, you start losing detail up there, and it's so blasting, your eye just keeps going up to that bright area, and that's where your eye's going to keep going. So you probably don't need all of that to tell the story of that storm coming in.
Shannon Mitchell, You've Got Mail.
Yeah. So this could have been put in your shadows assignment that you had, which would have been really cool. And I would take out, just make it even a little bit tighter all the way around. Now, if I could wave magic wand, darker sky would be even more amazing than what this is. But this is nice. Nice little capture. Nice seeing this.
Jane Webb, and that is the last image.
You didn't warn me. I could have drugged that out a lot longer. Yeah. Okay, so just thank you to everybody that put in images. I hope you're able to take something away from that. If you do have questions, comments, concerns, jabs, feel free to contact me, send me a message. Woo, that's bright. So just let me know. But again, thank you guys for having me. Again, have any questions, let me know.